want you to show me how to get to know someone like you, someone like you.
Hey guys, it's Bréy here. Welcome back to my channel. So sorry it took me 3 weeks to upload another video. I've actually been really stressed out with finals and, end of the year projects and everything like that. There's just been so much going on, and believe it or not, school's a lot harder when you're in quarantine and you can't have like physical contact with your classmates or your professor, or anybody in the outside world besides your family. So yeah, but I won't get too far into that. Just know that I will be posting every single week from this point forward until I am back on the court with my fellow teammates playing volleyball. So this video is going to be about the 5 things that I wish I knew before going to college. Yeah, so I guess I'll just jump right into it. So I have a little list written down here of the 5 things that I wish I knew. There's like headers, and then there's like, the underlying tips that I put in each category. So yeah, number 1 would be, it's nothing like the movies. I know that every single person that goes into college, or not every single person, but a lot of people that go into college expect college to be what they've seen like in the movies. It's nothing like that. You won't always want to party, and depending on where you go to school, parties won't always be available, and that's fine. I just don't think that your life needs to be centered around partying. I think that there's a good balance, party a little bit, go out and have fun with your friends, but then also making sure that you're keeping up with your schoolwork. That's really important. So yeah, you won't always want to party, and parties won't always be available to you. And sometimes even when parties are available, you will have to stay in and do homework, and that's just the reality of things. You have priorities and you have things that you need to do to make sure that you're, doing well in school. When a lot of people say that like C's get degrees, and I understand that, like sometimes like you're not going to be able to do as well in a class or in a course that like as you want to, and that's totally fine. But every single time I set foot in the classroom, make sure that I'm striving to get good grades. And good grades to me in my category, because I'm really, really hard on myself, would be like A's and B's. So if I'm not getting an A or a B, I'm mad at myself. And that's probably something that I should deal with, because, you're still learning if you get a C or below, and that's fine. But I don't know, I just hold myself to a really high standard, and if I'm not getting an A or a B, I need to reevaluate and see what I was doing to see what I can do better next time for the next class that I do take. Another tip that's under the category of it's not like the movies would be that it's a bit harder for you to make friends than you think it would be. So in the movies, you see that everybody they run into this one person and they're like, oh, like we have a lot in common, let's go hang out. I feel like it's a bit harder to get a hold of people in real life. And it's definitely a lot harder to find people that are like you in real life. It took me a minute. I'm not even gonna lie, it took me my entire freshman year to figure out where I fit in and like what friend group I wanted to fit myself into. Because there's like a lot of people that you can become friends with in college, and I'm not saying that the possibilities aren't there and that the options aren't open, but it's kind of hard to like figure out exactly like who you want to surround yourself with, because I feel like there's a bit more like people understand who they are more, and they're getting to know themselves and getting to understand themselves. So it might be a little bit harder because everybody is kind of like figuring themselves out, and they figure themselves out a little bit more than in high school, if that makes sense. So yeah, tip number 2 would be college isn't easy, but it's definitely doable. There will be nights that the homework seems never ending and you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm never gonna get this done. By the time I do finish, I'm not gonna get a good grade on it. And that's just the reality of college. College is not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be this walk in the park. I feel like when I was in high school, I could like BS my way through things and like still get like A's and B's in classes and on assignments, but I wasn't really putting forth the effort to get a good grade. And in college, that really shows. Like, I wouldn't say that if you're not putting maximum effort, but I would say like if you're not putting in like a good amount of effort, then you're gonna see that. It's gonna show in your grades. And I think it's really important that you focus in on like making sure that you're setting a decent amount of hours for your midterms, and that you're putting, the good work into like good, honest work into the assignments that you've been assigned for class. Another thing going off of that is that you're not always going to understand what's going on in lecture. And I will be the first to admit that you will not always, not only not be awake in lecture, but you won't always be paying attention, like full attention in lecture. And that's okay. It's really hard for me to keep like focused, and that's okay. Like, you're not going to always be focused. Sometimes your mind's going to be elsewhere, like, I don't know, something happening at home or something happening with your friend group or whoever you live with. Like, life is not always peachy, and that's fine. Another tip that would go under this would be that your professors are not always going to like you, and that's okay. That's just life. You're going to run into people, you're going to run into bosses that don't like you, and you're just going to have to deal with it. And I would say that the way to prove those people wrong, or to rub them the absolute wrong way, would not to be like not to pay attention and to be disrespectful, but to work your hardest in the classroom so that they have nothing that they can say against you, or nothing that they can, put against you. Like, I had a professor this semester who absolutely hated me for whatever reason. I have no idea why. I do my work and I do pay attention in class. And, I'm a pretty good student. I'm a good AB student. But for some reason, whatever reason it was, he didn't like me. So he docked me on every single thing that he could on tests and quizzes and everything like that. Like, even to the point of like, you didn't understand this well enough, gives me 0 out of 6 points. Like, but did I give you the answer that, like, what? Like, sometimes professors can be rude and you're just gonna have to deal with that. But the best way to get back at them is to do well. Because if you're doing well enough, they won't be able to dock you points, And if they do dock you points, it'll be very minimal. And you can even go the extra mile. And if you feel as if, like, they don't like you and that they're being biased and unfair, don't be afraid to shoot them an email and be like, hey, look, I think that I got this answer right on the test or on the quiz. Can we negotiate the points? Because if you feel as if you're deserving of the points, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to get those points that you feel deserving of. So tip number 3 would be, it is okay to ask for help. Now, this is something that I definitely struggle with because for some reason I feel like, and I've always felt like this growing up, if I'm asking for help, then I'm not doing something right and that I'm not smart. I don't know why that in my head just like correlates or like goes along together, but it's not the truth. It's wrong. And you can't be afraid to ask for help, especially in college, because you don't ask for help on one assignment and you don't know how to do the next 5 assignments. So you need to make sure that you jump on it when you have the chance. Asking for help makes life so much easier. And getting a tutor, creating a study group, anything like that does not make you less intelligent than the peer next to you or any of your peers. Make sure that if you're not understanding something in one of your professor's classes, that you go in and you ask for help. Like, go into their office hours. That will ultimately help you be able to like form a good relationship and a good bond with your professor, and they will be willing to go the extra mile to help you out. I can't even express how many times it took me so long to go in and ask for help from my professor. And when I finally got in there, they were like, I'm so glad that you came in, and I'm, glad that you took the time out of your day to come in and actually understand the material that I'm teaching. And a lot of college professors become professors because they genuinely want to help people. Like, they genuinely want to help you understand the material. So they spend all this time teaching you the material. And if you're not taking the time to understand the material that they're teaching and you're not doing well in the class, honestly, I feel like their feelings might be a little bit hurt. If you're going in and getting help, then that's a boost of self-esteem for them. And because you're boosting their self-esteem, they want to boost yours. So like, because you're helping them understand and remember what the purpose of them becoming a college professor was, then they're going to want to help you. Lastly, in that category, I would say don't be afraid to ask for an extension. Now, with this entire pandemic and COVID-19 thing going on, I understand that you probably feel a lot of pressure to make sure that you're getting your assignments in on time, especially from a lot of teachers and professors. They don't necessarily understand they can't understand everybody's at-home situation, and they're expecting that you are turning in your assignments on time and that you're putting in the same amount of effort that you would be if you were actually at school. But I wouldn't say that it's fair of them to hold you to the exact same standard, because not everybody's at-home situation is perfect. Some people focus better when they're at home, and others can't focus at all when they're at home. So if you're experiencing like a great deal of stress because you feel as if you can't get your assignments in on time and that you don't have the resources, don't be afraid to reach out to your professor and be like, hey, look, I'm going through a really tough time and I didn't realize, like, this is what happened to me. I didn't realize how much of an effect that COVID-19 and quarantine would have on me. So come time that like I'm falling behind in assignments and I'm like, my professor's probably so mad at me, just open up. And I'm not saying that you have to, you do not have to tell them your life story. You don't have to be like, my mom and I, or my family, or none of that. You don't have to do any of that. Like, just be like, look, I understand that I haven't gotten my assignments in on time. I promise you I'm working on it. Is there any possible way that I could get an extension on this essay? And I will work really hard this weekend to see if I can turn all of my missing assignments in. Or can I get an extension on this because it's been really, really hard for me to focus at home? And then ask them, and then they'll get back to you. They're not always going to say yes, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And I think it helps them understand who you are as a person and where you're coming from. And then once again, just like going into office hours, it builds a strong relationship and a strong bond with your professor, and they'll be more trusting in you. Tip number 4, I would say know when to say yes and know when to say no. I feel like this is really, really, really big, especially when it comes to college, because you might feel pressured by other people to say yes when you don't want to. So I'd say the biggest tip out of number 4 would be, don't be a victim to peer pressure. If you don't want to do something, don't do it. And don't feel bad for saying no either, because the people that are trying to force you or pressure you into doing something that you don't want to do, I can assure you those are not your real friends, and those are people that you don't need in your life. It's just a bunch of negativity, and it's unneeded, it's unwanted. Knowing when to say yes would be, I've been studying nonstop for 3 days for these 2 midterms that I have next week. But my friend invited me to, go take a look at the city, or, go tour the city that we live in. And even though I'm really stressed, I know that I've been studying and I know that I will have time to study later. Say yes, because ultimately a study break might be just what you need to clear your mind. And then when you come back, you'll be able to study because, you've taken that break, you've gotten that breather, and that's a win-win situation. Or even, I haven't really been feeling like the happiest lately. I kind of feel like being alone, but maybe I should, accept my friend's invite to go and hang out with them today at the beach, like just random stuff. That might help you to get back in your groove and like feeling like yourself again. So like, don't be afraid to say yes, even though like sometimes you don't want to. And I definitely fell victim to this when I was a freshman. I drowned myself in homework when I wasn't playing volleyball. And that took a toll on me because I wasn't going out and making those connections with people. I wasn't hanging out with my teammates. I wasn't hanging out with friends. And ultimately, I wasn't as happy as I could have been. But as soon as I realized that every single time my teammates invited me out to do something with them, or my friends invited me out to do something with them, like as simple as going to get boba or anything, I realized one time that I always said no, and that I should start saying yes to things like that, because ultimately, going to get boba with your teammates might only take 40 minutes. 40 minutes of not studying is not going to kill you. Or 40 minutes of, just relaxation, self-care is not going to kill you. So you need to make sure you know when to say yes. But also making sure that you understand when it's best to say no. So like I said, not falling victim to peer pressure and laying down the law. Like, it's okay to tell people no. And if they want to think that you're uncool for saying no, then that's on them. Like, then they don't deserve to have you in their life, because ultimately real friends won't ever make you feel bad for not doing something that you don't want to do. On the topic of knowing when to say no, do not, and I repeat, do not, if you are going to a party, always go with people that you know, like friends that you know, if anything was to happen, like God forbid anything happens, you will be protected because those friends will take care of you. So if anything pops off, somebody did a little something and you're a bit lit and you can't handle yourself, you know that you have friends that were looking out for you, and they notice something is wrong, that they can take you back to your, your dorm or your apartment, and that you'll be safe because they'll have you. So don't ever go out alone. That's just like the number one rule of college. Don't ever go out alone. And if you are going out alone, may the force be with you. Please don't do it. And the last tip going off of that would be like, don't take drinks from strangers. It's just like, that's also like up there. Like with rule number one, not going out alone, do not take drinks from strangers, because that person that might be in your class that you think you might be able to trust could possibly slip something into your drink and something happens. You never know. So always stay on the safe side. If you are going to drink, not only be of age, but make sure that you've made the drink yourself, and that nobody, just don't put your cup down, walk away and come back, because you never know what could have happened, what could have been put in your cup. Just make sure that if you're going to have a drink, keep it with you wherever you go, and keep it covered, sis. You can't be walking around like not paying attention. So, hey, what's up, so-and-so? Like, keep it close. That's all I gotta say on that. My last tip number 5 would be take care of yourself. I understand that college is hard and it's probably not gonna get any easier, but I just really want to stress how important it is for you to be taking care of yourself. And I mean like movie nights with your friends in your dorm, like simple stuff, cooking, like making your favorite dessert or your favorite dinner, making sure that you're taking care of your skin, or like you do like a hair mask and a face mask, or whatever, just whatever makes you happy. Another thing that goes under the category of self-care is making sure that you're doing the things that you enjoy doing. Well, let's say that you like painting and school has been taken away from that. You haven't had as much time to paint. If you're on top of things and you're doing what you need to do, you can get ahead on your homework, and then you'll have more time to paint, or things like that. So making sure that you are taking care of yourself in that way. Another way to take care of yourself is to make sure that you're getting good rest. That's one thing that I cannot necessarily attest to, because I never sleep. Like, I don't know what sleep is, but somehow I still function. But getting good rest is actually a really, really, really good way to take care of yourself, because I noticed like the nights that I did get more sleep than usual, I was happier. Like, I was glowing, and like people saw that. So that's another way. And then lastly, let loose every once in a while. If you always say no to going to a party and you've never been to a party before, go ahead and experience that with people that you know and that you trust. But go and experience it. Like, do things out of your comfort zone. Like, don't be so adamant on only doing the things that you're comfortable with. That's not what college is about. Like, college is about figuring out who you are, figuring out the things that you like and that you don't like. And you can't do that if you're not trying new things. So I feel like trying new things and like putting yourself out there is another way of self-care. Like, self-care is also a way to like get to know yourself. So yeah, those are all the tips that I wrote down in this handy dandy notebook. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. I promise that I will be posting weekly. I went through kind of a slump after school ended, but I'm back. We're back. And better than ever. So yeah, if you like this video, don't be afraid to give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to comment and subscribe. If you guys have any more tips for anybody going into college or anything that I didn't touch base on, don't be afraid to, comment that down below. Don't forget to share this video with your friends, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!
I want you to show me how to get to know someone like you, someone like you. I want you to know